Hey, what's going on, everybody? So I meant to do this last night. Didn't end up going down. So I'm going to do a quick video here, just basically explaining what I'm going to be talking about. Just find it here. So the theme is people be like water. Okay, people be like water. Why? Why are people like water? Well, people are like water because what does water do? Right? Bruce Lee. Did Bruce Lee say it? Flow like water. Is that what he said? I don't know. But regardless, flow like water, right? No resistance. What do people do? What does water do? They follow the path of least resistance. If you've got a pool of water up on a hillside and you want it to go down to a lower pool, well, then you dig a trench, right, down below that water level. And what's going to happen to all that water? It's all going to take that path of least resistance. Even though it's a great big massive pool, you dig a little trench and all that water is going to go rushing down that trench into the pool that's waiting, right? So they make a pool and then they dig a divert and then all the water rushes down into the pool that they've got sitting there waiting for them, right? So people be like water, as in they follow the path of least resistance. And what's going on right now? People are following the path of least resistance. And what is that? Well, it was submit to the tests, submit to the masks. Now it's submit to 1 jab. Now it's submit to 2 jabs. Now it's submit to 3 jabs, 4 jabs, 5 jabs, 6 jabs, so on and so forth, right? And again, once that water starts going down that divert, can you get it back into that pond? Not unless you got like some kind of really powerful pumping device, but even still, you wouldn't be able to put that water back in, because even if you tried to push that water back up that hill from that trench, well, the rest of the water, the weight of the rest of the water spilling down, it's just going to fly over top of you and overwhelm you. You can't put the water back in. It's on its path, the path of least resistance. And people have taken the path of least resistance and they've been diverted, right, from reality, and are now just running down this chute of destruction into this lower pool. But you know what, guys? We have to be forgiving of people that have gone along with this, right? If we are a Christian, right, we have to be forgiving of those people. We can't turn against them now, because what happens when they realize that they were wrong? What happens when they realize that they were deceived, right? And they wish to turn away from that. I mean, there might not be any turning away from it because of the damage is already done, but is it going to be our decision to say, sorry, but we can't forgive you, we can't accept you now? You know, we're going to need people that have gotten this thing, right, that are still capable and able to move around society. You know, you're going to need people that are still in the system. It's just like, you know, we'll go to World War II, right? Like, and the Jews under the floorboards, right? You're going to have people that are supposed to be enemies that are actually your allies, right? And then vice versa, you're also going to have people that are going to pretend they're your allies and then they're going to betray you, right? So you need to establish those relationships and still be talking to people that are going along with this, because they need to be able to understand, because they're all confused. They're all brainwashed. They've all been hoodwinked, right, to go along with this for whatever reason it might be, whether so they could travel, so they could, go somewhere for a job, so they could keep a job, so on and so forth, right? Because they, want to do the right thing and thought they were doing the right thing. Whatever the reason is, right? We need to be ready to forgive these people. More sticks? Just 1 second, guys. What do you say? Say peace. And that's it, okay? Okay, so we need to be there and ready to forgive these people, right? The people that aren't looking to be forgiven, that are just going to go full steam ahead with this, well, that's a different story altogether, right? Those are the people that plan on betraying you, right? Those are the people that plan on handing you to the wolves. Now, what I want to do tonight on the stream is article I've seen that East Coast Canadian had posted in Telegram. Maybe I should have said that. Sure. I don't know. Anyways, I said I was going to do a video last night and ended up not getting that video done. I did a pre-video saying I was going to do a video, put a couple messages out there saying I was going to do a video, do a stream at 10:45, and it just didn't end up happening, guys. So I apologize. So this is the article. The title is Canadian Politicians Warn of Political Violence After UK MP is Stabbed to Death. Now, this is CBC News. The author of this is Nick Boisvert, whatever. October 16th, 2021, 4 a.m. Last updated October 16th. Whatever. Anyway, so this is about a British MP who was stabbed, okay? And basically in public, in broad daylight, stabbed to death. And when I get into this, okay, it's going to be like, oh, this must be somebody that's mad about lockdowns and, you know, all these tyrannical mandates and restrictions that have been put on everybody. That must be what it's about. So politicians are going to start getting picked off because of their tyranny. But there's a little twist to it. But then there's a further twist in how they link this story to Canadian homegrown terrorism. Okay? And that's the interesting part. It's basically two opposites that they're going to combine together to make it the same entity, but they're not going to blame this entity. They're going to basically, what this entity does, they're going to put all of that onto this scapegoat entity over here. And we'll understand that when I do the full read here this evening, because I don't got time. But I do want to read right quick. Let me get this up here. Going to read up Matthew chapter 24 right quick. 24 KJV. I'm going to read the whole chapter. Okay, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately. So this is later. So he told them all once when there's a bunch of them. And then the disciples came privately to him when he's on the Mount of Olives, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So they asked three different questions. And everybody links this as all being one moment. But these are three questions, three different things. Okay? So tell us, when shall these things be? What are these things? Well, the temple, right? And all the buildings, and there not being one stone left on top of another. That's one question. Okay. The other thing is, tell us, when shall these things be? Okay. And what shall be the sign of thy coming? So tell us what you mean by these stones. And then, so that being said, it's intriguing them to ask, well, what will be the sign of thy coming? Right. And then, what and of the end of the world? Yep, go put it in the sink. And of the end of the world. And of the end of the world. So Jesus coming, the end of the world. Temple being overthrown, Jesus coming event, end of the world event. So there are three different things. Okay? And how do we understand that? So we'll explain it. Okay? And Jesus answered them, saying, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So, wars and rumors of wars. Well, there's been wars and rumors of wars ever since Christ was crucified, right? There's always been wars going on. So every time there's a big war, something going on, people are like, oh, this is it. This is the end. Every World War II would have been the same thing. World War I would have been the same thing, right? The American Revolution would have been the same thing. They're all would have been these ideas and concepts that this is the end, because this is their hour of tribulation at that particular time. Okay, but there is one big tribulation. Okay, so don't be troubled. Okay, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So all these wars and rumors of wars, right, they have to happen, but it's not the end yet. So this can be taken also because they're going to understand when Rome comes against Jerusalem 70 AD, right, of wars and rumors of wars, and don't be troubled. But that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning, because that was when the stones were torn down, when the temple was destroyed. But Jesus never returned after that yet, has he? He hasn't returned. And even after that, there's still a point of the end of the world. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? Hopefully so. Okay, so be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Nation shall rise against nation. When it says nation, who does that mean? That means ethnicities. Okay, that means peoples. People that look like other people fighting against other people that don't look like them. Okay? Nations. Kingdoms, well, that's countries, which can be made up of nations. You understand? And there shall be famines. Well, yeah, if there's war, there's going to be famines. If there's famines, there's going to be pestilences. Okay? Earthquakes. Well, earthquakes are going on, but we see that there's a lot more earthquakes going on even today. Is it the end? Well, no, because the big earthquake hasn't happened. Right? The earthquake of all earthquakes. In diverse places. And all these are the beginning of sorrows. Only the beginning. Wars, rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. Okay? They're the beginning. Only the beginning. So if they're the beginning, right, it says then. So after these things all begin, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for not thy name's sake, for my name's sake, Jesus. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Right? Iniquity abounding, love of many waxing cold. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Endure. So what does that mean? Don't abound in iniquity, and don't let your love wax cold. Okay? Because false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many. I missed that part. Okay? False prophets. There's many prophets today. So-called prophets. But if they're not correct in what they're predicting, right? In what they're preaching, well, then they're false. Okay? And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. The gospel of Jesus Christ shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So, the gospel has been preached in all nations, right? But it's really not being preached as needed to be preached, right? As in this context, right? there's a gospel that's preached, but it's another gospel, right? The gospel that's going to be preached is going to be a witness against this world and the direction that it's heading. And that's what's going to offend people. That's what's going to drive a wedge between people. That's what's going to cause people to hate one another. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. So there's an abomination of desolation that is set up in the holy place, as spoke of by Daniel the prophet. And those that are in Judea must flee. Let him who's on the housetop come down and not take anything, but get the heck out of there. Because then you will know the end is near when you see that abomination of desolation. We haven't seen the abomination of desolation yet. It's not this jab. This jab is a compliance protocol to make people comply to their death, because this is the destruction and the wars and the pestilences and the famines and everything that's coming. That is going to be what's going to be the beginning of sorrows. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So all those beginnings of sorrows, which seem like the great tribulation, they're going to pale in comparison to this great tribulation that has not been seen since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved alive. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Okay? Because those who endure to the end will be given a robe of white. And the way it's going to go, those saints would not endure, okay, if Christ does not intercede and shorten these days. Because they got plans, and Christ is going to not stumble. Christ is going to interject on those plans and totally flip them on their head and totally reverse engineer their plans. Okay? That's what Christ is going to return to do. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall rise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So the Antichrist, the false Christs, okay, the false prophets are going to do things that are going to be so convincing that even if it were possible, the very elect might be deceived by it. So what does that tell you? That the Antichrist is going to be in the place of Christ. He's going to be somebody that everybody's going to fall for, because he's going to be doing all the right things. Behold, I have told you before. Again, this is after the beginning of sorrows. Okay, so it's a different, the world as we know it is different at this point in time than it was at the beginning of sorrows. Okay? Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. When they are telling you, oh, Christ is here, the Messiah is here, you got to come see him, don't believe them. We'll know when Christ has come. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man be. Okay? So you see a shot of lightning going from the east all the way to the west. Do you think that you saw that, or do you know that you saw that? It's a pretty big display that you can't miss. So just as lightning goes from the east to the west, so shall be the coming of the Son of Man. You're going to see it and you're going to know. For wheresoever the carcass be, there will the eagles be gathered. The carcass, the body. The eagles will gather there. What's that mean? That means wherever Christ is, he's the body, the eagles are going to gather to the carcass, right? He's going to call us up. That's the rapture, guys. Okay? Being caught up. Being beamed up, if you will. But it's not going to come, okay, until Great Tribulation. Because look, it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days. So those eagles that took flight to the carcass, right, the Son of Man in the sky, that's the tribulation. That's the end of the tribulation. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the coming of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And they're going to be, and the Antichrist is going to be, they're going to be loading up all the weapons and gathering to the valley of Megiddo, because they're going to be coming against Christ when he returns, because this is the alien attack that's coming upon the earth to destroy the earth. So they say. But it's going to be Christ. They're going to be saying that Christ is the enemy coming to destroy the earth. Meanwhile, they're the ones that have destroyed the earth up to this point and have enslaved all of humanity. Do you understand the level of inversion in all this? The Bible tells you. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. Wherever the carcass shall be, the eagle shall gather. Okay, that's a example, that's a vision, that's a picture, right, of a carcass, a deer carcass on the ground, and the eagles coming in and around, and then them going and landing on the carcass and chewing it up, tearing it up. Well, just like that carcass, the eagles will gather, just like when we see the Son of Man coming, the four angels are going to be gathered from the four winds of the earth and are going to gather the elect. Now, learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. When you see all these things happening, just like when the fig tree, you know when it's about to shed its figs, right? Look at all these things. And when you see all these things that have been written in this, understand it's at the gate. It's at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away. The generation that sees these things happening shall not pass away, but this generation shall not pass away till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. If this happened in 70 AD, heaven and earth never passed away yet. But of that day and hour no man knoweth, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. No man knoweth the day or the hour. Jesus can come right now. No, that's not true. Because it says, first must come that man of sin, that abomination of desolation, okay, setteth up in the holy place, declaring himself to be God, the Most High. But as in the days of Noah were, so shall be in the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And then what happened? They said, let us in, let us in. The door was closed up. The door was closed up. And knew us not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. They're going to believe whatever the narrative is right till the very end. And they're not going to understand until the Son of Man's coming, like the flood's coming, and they're all running and trying to hide from it. But it's too late. We need to wake these people up now. But there's lots of things that happen before this even happens, guys. This is down the road. We're at the beginning of sorrows, in my opinion, from understanding what this is. Okay? Then shall two be in the field, then one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding in the mill, and one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. We got to be watching. But if you're watching, you're going to see him coming. because you're looking at what's going on. You're looking at the events. You're looking at scripture. You've got the whole armor of God on. He's showing you and giving you understanding. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up, right? If someone would have known the thief was coming, they would have watched for him. But if you don't know, if we don't tell them, they don't know when the thief's coming. So they're going to be eating and drinking and marrying and giving into marriage when the flood comes, when the Son of Man comes, when destruction comes. You see what that says? So that's what we're going to be watching. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour ye think not the Son of Man cometh, right? Because it's going to be at that point in time, and everybody's going, he's not coming. No one's coming, right? We're being destroyed. No, look up, for your salvation draweth nigh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is the servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Right? Working, doing his job until the end. Verily I say unto you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of the servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Lukewarm is to go like water and flow. We're not to flow with the rest of the water, okay? We've been given a path that's like a sky bridge without any railings. And any way we fall off, it's going to be into a pit. Okay? So we can't, think, well, that's way far off, right? Even though I don't believe Christ can come any second, he is coming. I don't believe he's going to come any second. But regardless, I'm still watching for him. I'm still preparing, I'm still working, I'm still doing what needs to be done until that day comes, right? Because I can't just sit there and watch. Meanwhile, the house is getting broken into and falling apart around me. You still have to live life, but you have to be focused and watching and working and paying attention to what's going on, right? Because if you don't look for it, if you think, that's way, way off, that's never going to happen, he's delaying his coming, well, then he's going to come back at a time that you don't understand. Why? Because you got complacent and you stopped paying attention. Every Christian needs to understand the book of Revelation. Every Christian needs to understand the whole Bible. Got to go. Pete Brand's come out. See you tonight, guys.